Welcome back, Ascension family. I'm sharing another story from my second book, The Chosen One. In this second chapter are all stories about my past life healings. The scribed messages hold a light frequency to heal your life as well. I'm Patrizia, Ascension healer, Christ consciousness teacher, etheric surgeon, and cosmic light worker. So I recommend that as you just sit and close your eyes and just allow my voice and the words to wash over you. It holds a light frequency that also transmits through your whole body to receive the healing. This story is titled England 1454. England 1454, Bridget worked for the King's Court. She was a spiritual nurse and herbalist, extremely knowledgeable in the human body and diseases. Bridget was an orphan and raised by nuns until she was schooled and old enough to take care of herself. She was also in contact with them, loved them, and visited often. Bridget was a natural healer and had a dream of becoming a doctor. But being a woman, it was not allowed that she would work as a doctor. The nuns had nurtured her incredible ability to understand the function of the body and her philosophy that the earth and her seasons were God's pharmacy for all to use. King Henry enlisted Bridget's services for his staff, himself, and his queen. The queen was quite jealous of Bridget's beauty and intelligence, but she kept it to herself. Bridget was beautiful and very smart and connected to her faith. She also loved to spend free time in the forest, connecting with nature, collecting ingredients, and looking for more ideas and inspiration from God's pharmacy. One day, the Queen had asked Bridget to attend to an urgent matter regarding one of the generals to the King's army. The general had fallen ill with a pneumonia, and as this general could not be ill, she asked on the King's behalf that Bridget see to the medicine and requirements that the general needed. Bridget recommended a steam bath with essences and oils from certain trees in the forest, including wildflowers as well, lemon juice and ground herbs to drink. He must sweat, she thought. Additionally, she would send him a healing to address the problem energetically. She knew what the problem was. A fighter warrior archetype in this kingdom, definitely possessed from all of his lives he's taken. And so Bridget prepared the medicinal tinctures and the steam bath essences. She was not permitted to enter his quarters as this was considered inappropriate and risky practice in case she was infected. The general was quarantined and a slave sent in to administer and deliver the items with strict instructions. The jealous queen stopped the slave just outside the general's door. Don't say a word, you hear me, or you'll be placed in the dungeons with rats. And with that, the queen opened the tincture bottle and added a few drops of poison to the bottle. The terrified slave shook her head. No, your majesty. I don't know anything. I didn't even see you, as the story goes. The queen had had a rather steamy short affair with this general some months back. However, he was the one who abruptly ended it as quickly as it started. She was extremely offended by this, so she saw no harm in exterminating him and getting rid of the beautiful and charming Bridget at the same time. Perfect plan. Everyone is far too obsessed with that little witch anyway. The general began to die of poison relatively slowly, first beginning to sweat, then eventually falling into a paralyzed coma and eventually death. This process would take 8-10 hours. The king was alerted as the general was noticeably declining. The king approached the quarters and looked from the door. Your Highness, I will not live. I am dying. I have seen nothing but the imagery of your physician, Bridget, in the room in my mind. I know she has something to do with this. Wasn't she the one administrating medicines? The king looked startled and then furious. Of course, the general passed soon after and produced a black tongue, the sign of poisoning. She murdered my general, but why? Bridget was called to the High Court at once. The king questioned her and then slandered her, yelling obscenities and accusations of witchcraft. Bridget did not understand. She was absolutely shocked at this anger and felt the powerful emotion of betrayal. And the king explained, he felt your presence there before he died. He knew it was you. Why? Bridget thought about the distant healing she had sent only hours before. How did he know? I tell no one about these. How could this happen? Too many thoughts and confusions blocked her messages from God, and all she could do was sob and pray. The entire kingdom was saddened as Bridget was sentenced to public death in the central square of town. In a white flowing gown in front of thousands, Bridget was tied to a wooden pole. People were yelling, "Slay the witch." The loving, compassionate nuns gathered to pray near her. Bridget looked at them, focused on God, and tilted her head to the right. She closed her eyes and an image of Jesus was clearly before her. He was holding out his hands to embrace her. The night's bell rang, and a hooded man with a large knife stepped forward. There were rites being read out, and she was asked if she would beg for mercy and God's penance be given. She kept her eyes shut and prayed, concentrating on the image of Jesus. One tear streamed from her right eye. The call came, "Slay the witch." The hooded man walked up, and in a moment, a blink of an eye, he cut her throat. Blood streamed down her white gown, her body limp. The nuns cried in silence and prayer. Jesus took her home. Amen. Thank you for sharing this time and listening to another divine story from the Chosen One. In the description below are links to all services and products. Till our next story. Namaste.